This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Don't forget to view our spoiler-free companion video on our Half Past Podcast channel on YouTube. Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is episode 66, the movie review of Kingsman, The Golden Circle. I'm not going to have a trailer this week, but I'm here with my gentleman friend, Ian Jones.
Yes, that's why I'm wearing a fancy shirt. It has one of those ties printed on it, which saves time. Because you're not sitting there doing a Windsor knot.
A Windsor knot. A double Windsor. It has to be double.
Double whatever. Double Windsor. How do I do this again?
Oh, man. It has been a long time since we recorded,
yes.
man.
We got to knock the rust off.
Yeah, right? It's been, even just starting it was rough.
Says to you right before he's about to say something, how does this start again? What is it? Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. Yes. We've only done 166 of these.
Oh, well, that's nowhere near that many.
Okay, whatever. So I'm 100 off. Yeah.
It has been crazy, man. I was on this crazy road trip with my girl, and just your schedule's been crazy too, and we've just like not been connecting on movies lately.
Missed some movies.
Yeah, there's a bunch of movies I've been wanting to watch, and I just wanted to watch It and kind of see how that is, because have you seen the original It?
I didn't see the original, but I saw this one.
Oh, so you've already seen that one?
Yes.
Man, maybe
so
we should
definitely do a makeup.
Maybe we should do a makeup cast for It.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to watch that one, because I've seen the original one. It's like not very good, because it was one of the many Stephen King movies that are like made for TV. Right. Yeah. So like it's made in like 2 or 3 parts, and so it's kind of weird to watch because it's really long. I think the movie, if you buy it just as a whole as a movie, it's like 3 hours long. But it's supposed to be in like 3 parts, so it's just like a really weird movie to watch, and you can tell when you watch it that way. So this one's just more, seems like it's supposed to be more coherent all the way through, and then just one solid movie. So I wanted to give this a try. The people are saying it's good, so maybe we should do a makeup cast on that. But I also wanted to watch like so many other. I wanted to watch like Cars and Logan Lucky and like all these other ones. It's just like,
I'd be down to do a makeup one for Logan Lucky too.
Okay,
you might have more luck. You might have more, like getting in to see It.
Yeah.
Depending on how your schedule is.
Yeah, I'll have to figure that out, because I wouldn't mind doing It and maybe Logan Lucky too. I like freaking what's his name, Soderbergh. I always like that guy.
Yes.
So
yeah.
So it'd be nice to kind of watch Logan Lucky also, and that one's been getting really good ratings too. So I've just been so busy lately that I haven't been able to get to any freaking movies, which drives me crazy sometimes. Man, I love movies.
Right. Yes. It doesn't seem right.
Right. It like there's different. Usually for me, I used to go to movies like either 3-4 times a month easily, and just this past like 2 months, I've been like running through. I've been so busy. It's been crazy.
The one thing I was going to say with It coming out and doing really well at the box office.
Yeah.
There's sort of like this clown mania, and
jeez,
a lot of people are terrified of clowns, and I've never really understood it.
Yes, we've had this conversation before.
Well, so like my girlfriend is so terrified of clowns, but yet she will make us watch haunted shows, which make the hair on the back of your neck stand up.
Yes.
Like, like these ghost adventure things.
Yeah.
And, I'm just like, how can you like this and then have a problem with clowns. Because everyone knows that baseball bat beats a clown.
Nice.
They're not so funny once they've taken a shot to the face with a baseball bat. But the one thing that I really wanted to say, because I found this hilarious. She's gonna listen to this and be like, damn you. And that is after it came out. In her neighborhood, there was a guy dressing up as a clown.
Oh my God.
In the middle of the night, he would go out and he would walk through their neighborhood with a bunch of balloons.
Oh my God.
And so the neighborhood watch, said that he was doing this in back-to-back nights. The thing that I told her is, well, obviously this person's trying to get attention.
Well, obviously.
But the other thing is, that's way too much dedication.
Right?
Like, you just cannot keep that up night after night. And so if he does it after consecutive nights and no one runs him down with a car, eventually he's, not going to want to put on all that makeup and shit. And, that's been the case. I mean, everyone was sort of like freaking out. Everyone in their neighborhood was sending emails to each other, but nothing really was manifesting from it.
Jeez.
And so the guy eventually ran out of makeup or whatever, and it's done.
I like to think that it's just one of their neighbors. It's not a random guy. Yes, it's like one of the people that lives in their neighborhood. So it's just John that lives down the street.
Right.
But
yeah.
I like to think
Who's
that
a professional clown.
Who's a professional clown? You just never knew because nobody talks to their neighbors like they used to. Right?
Yes.
That's fantastic.
That's good. I don't see what the big deal is. Well, John, this movie just came out, and I really think you need to just cool it with the clown stuff, okay? Summer's over.
Oh, man, that's great. All right, man. Let's just leave it at that. We'll do tentatively. We'll see if we can get it in as a makeup.
Okay.
And then let's go ahead and take a break, and then we're gonna get into Kingsman here. All right.
All right.
All right. When their headquarters are destroyed and the world is held hostage, the Kingsman's journey leads them to an allied spy organization in the U.S. These two elite secret organizations must band together to defeat a common enemy.
Good read.
All right, second try, not bad. All right, so this movie is directed by Matthew Vaughn, who also did Layer Cake, Kick-Ass, and the X-Men First Class movie, which are all good movies. Have you seen all of these?
Yes.
I know you've seen First Class for sure.
Mm-hmm. I have.
Yeah, I always liked Layer Cake with Daniel Craig. That was like before he got like huge, and then was like Bond and crap. So it was just like a fun movie to watch. This movie starring Taron Egerton as Eggsy. He was in Legend, Eddie the Eagle, and Sing, which every time I think of him and seeing the trailers for like Eddie the Eagle, he just does not look like the same guy at all. It's just weird when you just put a mustache on somebody and all of a sudden they're just completely different people, apparently. Colin Firth as Harry Hart. He was in Pride and Prejudice, Shakespeare in Love, and The King's Speech, which kind of explains his career and why this one's so weird, right? Like, he's done a lot of different things throughout his career, and him doing these like Kingsman movies is just like so out of character for him, but it works. Mark Strong is Merlin. He was in Revolver, Rock'n'Rolla, and Sherlock Holmes. Julianne Moore as Poppy. She was in Boogie Nights, The Big Lebowski, and Hannibal. Channing freaking Tatum as Tequila.
Nice. Channing freaking Tatum.
Who's in Step Up, the G.I. Joe movies, and of course Magic Mike. And this guy, Channing Tatum is one of those actors. You know, I'm one of the guys that defends Channing Tatum every once in a while.
Can you?
Well, because every once in a while he'll have a decent movie where it's just like he's not that like in Magic Mike he's not that bad when you get past the vignettes of like obvious like objectification type of thing. But then you have like he's kind of charming in 21 Jump Street, where that one's kind of funny, but still, but like it's like people always say that he's way worse than he really is. It's like it's such a weird thing for him, but I don't know. I have mixed feelings about Channing Tatum. Oh man, Halle Berry is Ginger Ale. She is, of course, an X-Men, Monsters Ball, and Cloud Atlas.
Wow. Cloud Atlas. The star of Catwoman, Halle Berry.
I wasn't gonna mention Catwoman. Freaking Catwoman, man. I don't even know. Like, I think Catwoman is a very good representation of why you don't sign multi-movie deals with a studio, like an actual movie studio. You sign for movies, not just, okay, I'm going to sign with Fox for 4 movies or whatever. Like, I don't know why actors do that. Maybe because they just will get work. I don't know, but like you end up putting yourself in movies like that you don't have control over. So it's just like such a weird thing to do, but it is what it is. Jeff Bridges as Champagne Champ. He was in Tron, White Squall, and The Big Lebowski. Edward Holcraft is Charlie. It was so weird to see this guy back in here again.
Who is Charlie?
Charlie is the guy that, he's from the first movie, the guy that was a complete jerk in the first movie. Oh, he's the one with the robotic arm in this movie. Yeah, in this movie. So it's just like, he's just like such a jerk in the last one. And then, he made it into the top 3. And he didn't succeed because he gave everybody up during that railroad scene. You remember that?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, and so he failed. Yeah, he failed in that one. Pedro Pascal is Whiskey. This guy, I think, is getting big right now.
He is, and I'm surprised that he's nowhere in the billing.
No, he's at the very end of the billing. I think either right before or right after, like Elton John. Like that's how far down the line he is. It's really weird how far down he is, but he's actually a pretty big part of this movie. Yeah. So I don't understand why. And he's getting really big, and he's in one of my favorite Netflix shows, which is Narcos, and he's also Oberyn in Game of Thrones. So it's just like he's just like such a everything I've seen him in, I've liked him. So I hope he keeps succeeding here and getting bigger and getting more parts. I think it would be good. I think we're on the verge of this guy starting to do more things. The last one I have here is Elton John playing himself, and that's it.
Playing himself.
All right, man. Let's take a quick break here now that we're done with these characters, and let's go ahead and get into the quirks and likes of this. All right.
All right.
All right, Jones. Now we're back for our quirks and likes section. So, start with my quirks. I don't have a ton of quirks with this movie because, and for one reason, my one quirk about this movie is the beginning. The very beginning of this movie is wildly over the top. Like, crazy over the top. And so, like, I remember that first scene, I was super concerned about this movie after that first scene. I was like, okay, how much of the movie is going to be this? Because typically, the way they do this is when you have the first scene, it sets the tone for the rest of the movie. And so it's like completely just overly crazy and stylized. And it is such a crazy scene. And I am looking at this and I'm sitting here, I'm like, I hope that this movie isn't going to be entirely this. but it calms down really quickly right after it. And what that does, and I don't know how this works because a lot of the times you're supposed to set a tone and then kind of ramp up as you go. This one ramps up right at the beginning as a tone, and then everything else seems less. And for some reason that works. And I don't know how that works because other movies, when they do that, they're just like, well, what the heck is with this scene? But I think what happens with this, it's so overly stylized and overly crazy and over the top that it actually, you accept everything else that happens in the movie. So it's just crazy. But I was super concerned about this movie when that happened. And I don't know how you feel about that, but like that's the thing that I was like really concerned like 10 minutes into this movie.
Right. Well.
So
okay.
I was just, I don't know. I was just really concerned, and that's why it's a quirk of mine. But I think it works with the tone, with how the rest of the movie goes, because they calm down pretty quickly, and you still get some of the over the top stuff that you had in this one. The problem is it's the thing that I thought was going to happen with this movie, which is they took some of the stuff that people liked in the first movie and kind of ramped it up, which is a problem with sequels when they do that. And another example of that, in my opinion, is Guardians of the Galaxy. I think Guardians of the Galaxy does the same thing, where it has this nice tone throughout the whole movie, and it has a feel to it that's great. And then the second one, they ramp it up too much. And I'm just like, dang it, why do they always do that? Everything seems like forced, and it's just like, this is really annoying. Okay. I think this one does it a little better, though. So what do you got to say?
Well, here? I mean, I don't know. I'd like to hear what your other quirks are because, I mean, I think that really talks about the action sequences.
Yes.
In this film, and which I had as both a quirk and a positive.
And the like. Yeah. So, it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I guess we're probably on the same page here because I'm very mixed on this movie. I think a lot of the likes are also bad things, and I don't know how they did that.
Right.
So it's so I can see that both of us are just kind of like, I don't know. And the reason why is because that's just how this movie is. It's for my opinion, it's one of those things where I think if you go in thinking that this movie is going to be over the top and crazy, it's fine. But if you're looking at it as a normal movie, it's a really terrible thing to do. And I think that's
a good point.
I think that's the reason why I'm saying, to better explain my point on how they basically show you at the very beginning of the movie that this is the type of movie it is. We're not trying to take this incredibly seriously. So just deal with it, and this is how our movie is. And so if you came in here thinking it was going to be critically acclaimed, it's not. And so like I kind of feel like that's what they were doing in this first scene, which is why I feel like the rest of the movie is okay, because of that first scene setting everything up as like, this is how it's going to be. And I think that's why there's a problem. The only other, like, I don't know if you have any other comments on this, because I have a really random quirk after that.
No, go ahead and let's hear your
Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. I'll pass it on to you after this.
Okay.
I have one problem with this movie, and that is the another problem with this movie, which is the vial of antidote. The vial of antidote has quite a few problems. It has, first of all, he takes it out of the protective thing and is just holding it carelessly, like, throughout that scene, right? And I'm like, why the hell did he take it out of, like, it's like the most important thing in the world, right? And he's just casually handing it around. And then when something happens, you have Whiskey, push him out of the way and break the vial, which gives his character away immediately, which is also one of my likes. See, this is the problem with this movie, because, like, it's one of my likes because as soon as you think that guy is bad news, so does Harry, and kills him instantly. He's like, nope, bam, gone. Like, no, I know there's so many different ways you can tackle somebody to keep from and then still save a vial, but he like hit it out of his hand, and it was instantly showed his hand that he was a double agent, and Harry's experienced enough that he's just like, bam, he killed him immediately. He didn't wait at all. And so that's another one of my likes, but it also shows like there's no surprise to that at all. Like, you already were concerned about whiskey throughout the movie before that anyway, and then that instantly tells you that he's clearly bad, and then Harry reacts accordingly, as he should. Mm-hmm. And so it was just like such a weird thing for me. It was just like a weird part of this movie that just the vial itself is another representation of why this movie is like both good and bad. And so I don't know what else to say, man. So go ahead and get into your quirks then.
Well, just one thing about the vial, because that's a good point. Yeah. But it drives me nuts that they're in a room full of this stuff.
And they take one.
Yes. That really bugs me. And then it also bugs me that this whatever virus that she puts into the drugs could be cured so quickly, but yet, we can't figure out how to save these people's lives.
Yeah.
I mean, they take it and they're instantly saved, and I just I feel like that needs to be thought out. Like I don't like how haphazard that is.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't even going to mention that because I have so many other
Let's do it.
All right. The whole Elton John running joke does not work for me at all. This is a huge problem I have with the movie. Like, it kind of works in the beginning, and I find it hilarious that Poppy, basically in the confusion, decided to take one celebrity, Elton John, and that she's forcing him to perform all the time. And in fact, even the henchmen force him to perform all the time. And I think that's great. But I think that it becomes less and less effective each time they keep going back into it.
Yes, it does, and I'm okay with it. But
nice. I'm okay with it.
But I get
there comes
your
a
point
where it becomes absolutely stupid, and that's when he delivers a flying kick.
The flying kick.
This ridiculous. He's 5 foot tall and he's 330 pounds, and he delivers a flying kick, and it's like winking at the camera. You may as well just winked at the camera.
Yes.
And at that point, these henchmen do not seem dangerous to me. It's everyone's getting out of this alive. Elton John just delivered a Bruce Lee style kick to a henchman. And the other thing is, too, all the little subplots, with like the mechanical dogs seeing him as a friend. I mean, there's all these really little silly plot buddies that are running all over this film, and I'm just like, while it's brilliant to like have these things pay off, like they're so stupid. Like, it's really well thought out, but it's incredibly stupid at the same time. And so, with some of it I'm like, fine, but with the Elton John thing, I'm just like, you know what? No.
I'm telling you, this is the problem with this movie. Like, it's the same thing that I was saying, where it's like, it's really creative to have all these little things and they pay off.
Right.
But they're so stupid. Like, it's like, I'm telling you, at the very beginning of this movie, it sets a tone that this is not to be taken seriously at all. And I feel like that's the reason why I'm okay with a lot of the crap that's happening, because it's so ridiculous.
But then, like, his friends get blown up. Yep. And I mean, like, that's a really serious thing.
Yes, it is.
But I'm just not sure that note ever resonates, because it's like, there's one more thing on top of everything else, The whole vengeance thing should have been enough. But then his girlfriend is in the mix, and, she's,
Yep.
I don't know what she was smoking there, but, then it becomes about saving her. like right at the end of the movie.
Yes,
and so
it does.
it's just like, well, that's just one extra stupid little plot bunny that needs to that needs to magically get resolved.
Yes.
So,
well, I mean, in that case, it gets resolved naturally anyway, right?
Oh man, I thought at times Eggsy's character took a back seat.
There is a lot of times where that happens.
And while I liked it in one scene because I thought the scene was incredible, and that was sort of the rehash of that bar fight where they figure out that something is wrong with Harry.
Yeah.
I thought it was fine there, but I thought, God, he's sitting out for an awful lot.
Yeah, he is.
And it just, that's where I started thinking, he should really be the star of this movie. And maybe they've got too many characters.
They might have too many characters, and I don't know how they made their decision on doing that or not. But like even in the first movie, like they've always shined. Like in the first movie, he's clearly the protagonist, and in the movie is his. Yet when you look at billing and everything, his name is really far down the list. And that actually happens again here. Like he's like the third or fourth name, which is really weird to be like the star. But you have other people here who are way bigger stars than he is because he hasn't done much. Yeah. And so I don't know how they made that decision. Maybe they weren't sure of it or whatever. I'm not sure why they did that because he did really well in the first one, but they didn't give him much play in this one. They allowed all these other characters to shine around him is what they did. It was kind of a weird decision. Okay.
I thought that Poppy's character started strong, and I liked, like her eccentricity. Like there was something really unique about her. But then I felt like she fell completely flat right at the end of the movie.
Yes.
Because she didn't have it. It's so weird to me that like Statesman is a bigger threat to them. That's a much larger organization.
Yes.
And yet she goes after Kingsman. Now that was really, I think, to like appease her henchmen.
Yes, I think so too.
But I mean,
because the thing is she wasn't really aware of Statesman. Correct. She was aware of Kingsman because of Charlie.
Yeah.
Because he hacked into it and figured it out, and he figured everybody's locations out, so that's why she attacks Kingsman instead.
I just, like with the whole golden circle thing, because that's so close to their symbol, I really felt like maybe there was a missed opportunity to link her over to Statesman, and the movie almost seems like it's going that way, but then it doesn't. Especially when it becomes clear that there's an inside man, but he doesn't have the link that you might think that he does. Like the way that he's a traitor is not in the same way that you normally anticipate it to be. It's very kind of personally motivated.
Well, the other problem with that part of the storyline is that his motivation is not just the money, but it's also that his wife,
his sister,
his sister that gets killed by drug addicts or whatever, right? Well, the thing or them trying to rob a convenience store, and so she gets killed in the process,
right?
Which is really weird because the whole motivation of Poppy is to legalize everything. So it's really weird why he would want to join her anyway. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like a really weird thing.
Yes, and
it's like he's really being pulled.
Yeah, well, and he doesn't though. I mean, he just wants everyone to die.
Yes.
And that's the other thing about Poppy's character, which makes absolutely no sense. Like, even if her plan worked, she'd go out of business. I mean,
she would.
It doesn't, it actually doesn't make any sense. So I just felt like well, maybe she's crazy, or maybe the writers didn't actually think that part through.
I still think that her motivation the entire time was to legalize everything. That was her motivation.
I guess
which I get
fine,
puts her out of business, but
right.
It's well, the thing is, it's the thing that, and this is one of my likes, is because they have, in the first one, it was the same thing. You basically had somebody who was basically over the top crazy villain that has this unusually liberal agenda, right? Like global warming's a thing,
right. Yes.
Right? Like global warming's a thing, climate change is a thing. The world has a fever and we're the virus. Like that's like, it's like so crazy to think that way. But he's trying to show people that climate change is a thing, and just let's just get rid of everybody. Let's reduce the population or we're all gonna die. And he's crazy. Well, she's the same way. She's this over the top villain that has this ridiculous liberal agenda of like legalizing all drugs, yet it's the way she does it is by having everybody who is involved in drugs gets this ridiculous virus, and they're gonna die to basically force the world leaders to do what she wants. It's so crazy to do, and so I always thought that was her main motivation. She's just a crazy villain that has a liberal agenda.
But but yes, you're right. But then she wants to be recognized as the greatest businesswoman ever.
Yes, she also wants that.
There's really I'm like, God, pick a lane, woman.
But even then, though, like if you've made $240 billion, do you really need any more money? She's a crazy person with a liberal agenda, she probably doesn't want any more money. Like she doesn't want the business anymore. She's got the money.
Right. She wants the notoriety.
She wants the notoriety.
So I do agree with that. The other issue I have is, and this is a pet peeve one, which from a bottom line standpoint I understand, but it really is ass backwards to me, and that is that Fox News is covering everything and they're delivering exposition, which is a really scary thing coming out of Fox News. And it's such an oversight to me that we have British gits watching American Fox News. Like it's on their TVs too, and it isn't even the British anchors, it's our people. And that to me just feels like an oversight. Like there should have been some balance, and I understand that a Fox movie doesn't want to support the other news channels, but you actually have Fox anchors delivering exposition, which I think is unacceptable. I find that unacceptable.
All right.
I really liked Whiskey, and I thought that his character maybe deserved better, that maybe he deserved a chance to be a thorn in their side in a sequel.
Right? But I can totally see that.
He does go down fighting, so...
Yeah, he does.
So the other thing is, and this is sort of where we were talking about, it's weirdly a positive and a negative at the same time, but the action sequences are really over the top, and to me this time they felt like they were aided, like while they're visually incredible, they're really aided by visual effects. And it's extremely well done. But it's almost to the point where it's too slick, because the stuff that they're showing you is too fast, and there's no way that it could really be filmed that way. And so the issue that I have with it is that it mimics what I think was great about the first movie. And, there's that scene with Harry when he's fighting everyone at the church. Now, the thing about the way that they did that scene was it was incredibly well choreographed.
Yes, it was.
And they tried to do it all as if it looked like it was in one take.
Yes.
This time I feel like they maybe learned everything and they kicked it up a notch, but it doesn't have that same feel. Like, it doesn't have the same weight.
Yes.
Everyone's just sort of sailing through the air, and
yeah,
it's a little too slick.
I get your point. Is because of the aid of the visual effects, everything is a little too smooth and a little too quick, and I get that. I definitely get that. And again, I agree. It's one of my likes and one of my quirks. It's this movie has a lot of that, I think. And that's what's so weird about it, because it has like a lot of mixed things. So, do you want to get into the likes then?
Yes, let's get into the likes.
Let's just roll into what you were saying, just a while ago about one of my favorite things about this movie is the characters. I really liked Whiskey. Whiskey, adding him into the mix was such a cool character. And I really enjoyed seeing the differences between Statesman and Kingsman. Like, they're obviously both very skilled at what they do, but they have a very different way of going about doing things. And it's just like so cool that they're both have this like over the top style of way of doing things, yet Statesman, him having like the whip, like a bull whip that is technologically advanced, was just like such a cool little thing. Which in my opinion, I might get some heat from this, but in my opinion, I thought the way that the whip worked in this looked better than the one in Wonder Woman, which I think is really weird. Because the one in Wonder Woman looked like, to me, it started taking on like a form of its own. It just like didn't quite have the same feel as like a lasso anymore. Like in this one, it still felt like he was using a lasso. And I thought that was just great, and I love the visuals on it. So I thought that was just really cool with this character. And his character alone is just super cool.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed having Whiskey there. I also enjoyed having, at first I was kind of weirded out about how using Charlie to come back in this movie, but I ended up liking it in the end. Like having this extra little element that's a connection from the first movie. I always enjoy that when they do that in sequels, because sometimes a sequel will not have a connection at all. Like it's just like the characters are same and there's no callback whatsoever. This one, the whole movie is a callback. Like you have to have watched the first one to understand 90% of this movie. So like there's an actual connection throughout this movie multiple times, and he's one of them. And so I really enjoyed the connections, and I enjoyed the Charlie himself. The only bad part about that is if you hadn't seen the first one, you would be ridiculously confused in this movie. There's so many things that they don't explain. You just have to have seen the first one to understand what's going on, just like Mr. Pickles with the dog and everything. So but as a sequel, I think that it fits and it works if you have seen the first one. I really enjoyed how fun the movie was. The action sequences were just great, and so as we were talking, I really loved the final fight, that it was long enough and crazy enough to where it worked as a climax to the movie. And I just thoroughly enjoyed finally getting the payoff of Harry and Eggsy working together to take out a common enemy, which also is really cool too, because it shows you how awesome Whiskey was. Like, both of them had a hard time trying to take his ass out. So, like, it makes him more powerful, and I just love that whole sequence also. The other thing I said earlier, is I enjoyed having this another crazy villain with this, like, liberal clause. So that was freaking hilarious. Like, I love that they sneak these ridiculous messages in this movie. And they did it in the first one, and they did it in this one. And so I really enjoyed that, too. And that's all I got, man.
Well, you touched on a couple of things. I really love the rehash, and I mentioned this briefly too, but the rehash of the bar fight, and the idea of the guys sitting there at the table while Whiskey is dealing with all these like drunk Americans. I love stuff like that. I mean, that's such a creative thing.
Yeah.
to do, and I have to mention this, and it wasn't really one of my likes, but the fingering scene is so gratuitous. Like,
oh
it
God!
doesn't need to have, like, there's some other way to get around it, you know?
Right.
But there's one thing about it that I really like, and I feel like the entire audience misses it.
Okay.
And that is, afterwards, there's a line from Ginger where she says, "Oh, I'm finally working with an. It's nice to work with an agent who knows what he's doing." Yes. And that's so clearly a shot at tequila.
At tequila, yeah.
Like, I felt like the audience mostly misses it because everyone's like, "Did this really happen? Did we really?" And I feel like there are probably like 13-year-old me would have just flipped out seeing something like that in the movie. Like, oh my God.
Oh man.
So
yeah.
I'm just like, and it's nice to know that we can do these kinds of things in movies again, because for a long time it went away.
Yeah.
Like, that's so 80s.
Oh yeah, 80s and like early 90s.
Right, and then there was this push to, like,
no, let's get away from this
anymore.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore.
We can't show people smoking in movies anymore.
Nice.
One of the lost heroes in the first two movies, I really, assuming there's going to be a third, is Merlin.
Yes.
And I was really sad to
Love
see him
Merlin,
go,
man.
but
sad
I
to see him go.
His
also,
exit was awesome.
I thought it was awesome too.
I was just like, you know what? This is someone has. It's a save the world scenario. Someone has to die, but that was such a cool way for him to go out.
I am 100% in agreement with you. I really enjoy Merlin in both movies, and his send off was perfect. It was just so good. And just well done, and it fit the movie, and it fit his exit, and it was just, and it's referenced multiple times throughout the movie, and so having it come up as his send off is so cool.
Yeah, it is really cool.
Yep.
That's it for me.
All right, well, I guess I'll just throw in one more like before we rate this, because I just thought of it. I like the fact that he ends up getting like I like how the end of the first movie, which is really weird, having sex with the princess, but it's not a one night stand. He ends up with her. So
he ends up with
her, which is so weird, right? But he ends up with her. So I just wanted to throw that in at the end, because I thought that was so strange that they decided to do that. But it was like, yeah, whatever. All right, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and rate it. So I got mixed feelings about this movie. All I can say is I want people to rent or buy the first one, and then go see the second one and just have some fun. Just have some fun and just watch it, and just don't take it too seriously, and just have some fun. That's what I think should happen. All right, what do you got?
Well, yeah, I'm very mixed too. I think the movie is a lot of fun, but I think it would be an incredible movie to watch on Netflix.
There you go. All right.
Netflix it, baby. Netflix is going to need content, so...
Netflix is not hurting for content, man. Oh
well,
my God.
They're not going to have it. Here's the funny thing, because I feel like we need to talk about this. Disney is taking everything off.
Yes, they're getting rid of everything.
But Disney has a problem. They're going to have to develop their own platform.
Yes.
And doesn't it make sense for Disney and ABC to buy Netflix?
Oh my gosh.
And essentially have the platform that's there. Because then they could start even showing sports on the same platform. Netflix is already in place.
You are crazy.
I don't know how crazy that is. We'll see.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal. What you're saying is makes sense for Disney and ABC. I get it. They've been gobbling stuff up anyway. But I highly doubt that the people at Netflix would sell.
Who? Okay, this is an interesting conversation,
right?
And we'll see what happens here. In, about a year or two.
Yep, we'll see what happens. But I feel like there's a different mindset over at Netflix, and I don't think that they would sell.
I'll tell you this: I do not see people paying for Netflix and paying for the Disney service.
Well, yeah, I don't see that either. I think Disney starting their own streaming service would be disastrous. I think it's the equivalent to, like, have you heard anything about Star Trek Discovery coming out? So, like, Star Trek Discovery's coming out, and I've been reading, like, pre-stuff about it, and people are saying that it's actually a pretty smart sci-fi, and people are comparing it to, like, Battlestar Galactica, the remake.
Okay.
And so it's got some positive things. I mean, but you can only see it on a streaming service that nobody wants. So it's just like.
Oh, that part I did not know.
What?
It isn't on a network. It's not going to be on a network.
It's on CBS, but it will only be on CBS during their all access streaming. That's it. You can't see it any other way unless you do it illegally, which I think is a terrible decision. I don't know why you wouldn't just give it to like Amazon or Netflix and just do it that way, but that's not. They've decided to use it as a launch for their streaming service. And I know everybody's going to pirate it and not buy that service. So I don't know what the heck they were thinking when they decided to do that. It would have been better just to put it on the network. But boy. Whatever. Yeah, right? I cannot believe you haven't heard of this. How have you not heard of any of this?
I did not know about that.
Oh my God.
Seems like it's going to be death for the show.
Right? That's my opinion on it too, because for me, here just reading articles on the show, everybody thinks like that this is a good show. Like and it's different in a way where it's a more serious tone of a show. And it's because of the captain they have. Is a totally different thing. Like she's like a Vulcan, so it's different. And so like they're all it's kind of an interesting take on it, and people are saying that it's actually pretty good. But I don't even know if I'm gonna watch any of it because I don't want to freaking buy CBS streaming service. I'm not gonna freaking do that. What the heck for?
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
That's such a huge risk.
Right?
And we'll see if it pays off, especially since viewership on Star Trek, Star Trek needs to, in order for a show to survive, it needs to be able to reach beyond Trekkies, because there just aren't as many of them anymore.
Which is so funny about to say that is because the reviews I've been reading about say that this show does that. So it's like they made all the right decisions in producing the show, but not the right decisions or the right decisions to display the show, to get it to people, like to get that content to people. It's so ridiculous. I don't know. We'll have to see what happens.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens. Anyway,
especially since you and I are definitely not going to be doing that.
No.
So I mean,
there's no way I'm going to get some stupid CBS streaming service to watch one show. I'm just not going to do that. So, it is what it is. So I'm just like not going to watch the show. This is what's going to end up happening. So. Anyway,
interesting.
Let's go ahead and sign out after we've gone on this freaking tangent. All right.
How do we sign out again?
All right. If anybody wants to contact us, we have our home on the web, halfpastpodcast.com.
Ding-a-ling-ding. Like us on Facebook.
Rate us on iTunes. Go ahead and give us a 5-star if you like us. It helps us out a lot. And we're also on Google Play.
We're on Stitcher and Libsyn. Lay it on me.
Email us at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com.
Tweet us at halfpastpodcast.
Thank you for listening and thank you for your support. So, Jones, I think that we should definitely do Blade Runner, right?
Next week?
You want to try to do... No, it's not next week. Blade Runner's a little while from now, but I don't think it's next week. But that's the next movie I think we should do, but I think we should also do a makeup cast for maybe It. You want to do that?
I'm on board. Yeah.
All right, let's see if we can get that done. All right. Anything else, Jones?
That's it for me.
Gentleman Jones? All right.
Awesome.
Oh, I've always wanted to be a gentleman. This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jones. I'm out of practice, whatever.
Clearly. See you next flick.
Oh. That was the worst Jonesy ever. 66 Jonesies and I can't hit it.